Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video we will be learning more about databases and understanding how data is stored. In a database, data is stored in a structured format using tables. Think of table like an Excel sheet where data is organized in rows and columns. Once again, go on and open your SSMS and use your testing environment or use AdventureWorks database. Go on and open your tables. And as you can see, we have multiple tables in our AdventureWorks database. As I previously said in previous videos, this AdventureWorks database is for testing provided by Microsoft. So let's select from one of the tables. Let's select from this table. And as you can see, we have a lot of information here, right? So columns are located over here. And if you open it, you can see that we have multiple columns in these tables. We have address line 1, address line 2, and so on. So these are all the columns. As you can see from the output, we have these column names included. So what is row? This is row. This blue line here or this blue line here is a row. So this is column and this is row. So understanding difference between columns and rows are very important. Each row is a unique entry and each column represents a specific type of information. A key is a unique identifier that helps to find specific data in tables quickly. So we have different kind of keys in SQL Server, but not only in SQL Server, in other database management systems. So we have primary key, foreign key, and unique key. So let's start discussing each one of them separately. Go on and click on new query and let's create our testing database where we'll be creating different tables with different columns and with different keys. Go on and type create a database test, for example. Let's create this database. Refresh your databases and let's first create just a table without any kind of keys. So creating table is very straightforward and very easy. For example, you can create table, let's call it again test. And you can have different kind of columns here. For example, ID, which is int, first name, which is varchar, for example, 15, last name, again varchar 15. So if you don't know what is an varchar, what is an int, and if you want to know more about SQL Server data types, I have a separate video about it and I will leave the links for that video in this description. So for now, let's continue. Let's create this table and let's insert something in it. Values, for example, as for ID, let's give it 1. As for first name, let's give it Brainwheel. This is my YouTube channel name. And let's say in last name include subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to my channel for now, go on and click on that subscribe button. So let's insert this information and let's select from our table. So this is our output for now. So what if we want to make sure that our ID is not duplicated in our table? For example, if I run this command again, one more time, this ID is same. For example, 1111, right? But what if I want to create a table with some kind of restriction that gives me possibility to somehow restrict user inserting information that is duplicated for my columns? For example, you are creating your table for customers, right? Your customer, each customer should have individual IDs. For example, say ID, which is int. For that, you will be using primary key. With this primary key, you are able to restrict user from inserting multiple, for example, ones. So you will be making sure that there will be no duplicate values. Also, take in consideration that primary key does not allow null values. So you will not be able to insert null value when you are using primary key. So we have ID primary key, and let's copy paste this first name and the last name. And we have our customers table right now. Now let's start inserting something in it. In customers table, and values, as for values, again 1, again brain wheel, and again subscribe. So if I execute this one, it will insert something. But if I try to execute once more, it says that there is a violation of the primary key. If you open your table and open your customers table, from the columns you will see that ID has this kind of key sign. It means that it is a primary key. As you can see, it says PK here. Also, if you open your keys, there you will see this primary key. On one table you can have only one primary key, and it will not allow null values. Remember this. So what if I want to insert another row? It is very simple. Just use another number, for example 2, and it will be inserted out. Let's select from it. Select from this customers table. And we have this kind of information. Also, there is another way. For example, when we are using primary key, we want SQL Server to automatically give my ID value. For example, instead of me writing 1, 2, 3, and so on, let SQL Server decide what to insert. For example, let's create another customers table. For example, customers table 2. Here, if you include identity, and if you include this number, for example 1, 1, this means that SQL Server will start counting from 1 and will add up 1 every time new row gets inserted. You can start from anywhere, for example from 100, from 1000, or even from 10,000. So for now, let's start from 1, create this table. Let's copy paste this insert statement. We want customers table 2. And now we should not include this ID column. Let SQL Server decide from where to start. Actually, it will start from 1, as we said, right? Again, let's insert 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. And let's select our data. Select star from our customers to table. And as you saw, our ID got generated automatically. So how to check if your table has a primary key or have identity insert turned on? There is multiple ways, but one of the best way is to just open your columns. You will see this sign, and PK, it means that it has a primary key. And if you want to see that if identity is turned on, go on and open your customers table, go to design, click on the column, and down here you will see identity specification. For now it says yes, it's starting from 1, and identity seed is 1. If you open just your customers table, this option will be disabled, and here instead of saying yes, it will say no. From here you will be able to also turn it on. So this is for primary key. Let's move on to the foreign key. So why do we have foreign keys? Foreign keys are used to connect multiple tables to each other with primary key. For example, let's use this second table, this customers to table, and let's create another table where, for example, create table and call it orders. For example, these customers can order different things from our store. Orders. Let's give this orders table their columns, for example, order ID. It is important to keep track of our orders with order IDs. Again, int primary key. And let's turn on this identity insert on once again. But let's start counting from 100 instead of 1 and increment by 1. Again, let's see what customer ordered. For example, let's say order name. Make it varchar. Again, let's say 16. And also in my order table, I want to include my customer's ID. So how should I do it? So that is where our foreign key comes in. For example, you can create here customer ID, which is int and which is foreign key. And it should reference to some table, right? To my customers to table, and it should use by the reference my ID. From my customers table, I want to use my ID column. So I have new column here, customers ID, which is int, which is a foreign key, and it should reference to my ID column. So this is how we use these foreign keys. So again, let's create this second table. Once again, for demonstration, let's select data from our customers to table. And we have 4 columns, right? Now let's insert something in our orders table. Let's say values, and as for values, we do not need to include order ID. It will start from 100, but we need to include, for example, order name. Let's say gaming PC, right? But also we need to now include our customer ID. In our table we have customer ID 1, 2, 3 and 4. Let's include 1. Let's create another insert statement, another. Instead of gaming PC, let's write mouse here, for example RAM, for example CPU, right? And instead of 1, let's use 2, let's use 3, let's use 4. And let's run this command. And let's now select from my orders table. Let's copy this select also. This first table is my customers table and this second table is my orders table. So as we can see, our first customer ordered gaming PC, which order ID is 100. My second customer ordered mouse, and so on. So what if I try to insert something in my orders table? For example, this 4 is my customer ID, right? If I try to insert, for example, here 10, it will say that insert statement conflicted with foreign key. What it means? It means that in our customers table, which my orders table is referencing by this column and by this column, I do not have this ID 10. So my orders table doesn't know customer whose ID is 10. But if I add this ID 10 in my, for example, in my customers to table, values, for example, let's say name, last name. I need to run this 6 times to get an ID of 10, right? Because we have identity insert on. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we have ID 10. And if I run this command again, everything will be okay. So I'm using this foreign key to make sure that someone will not make some kind of mistake during inserting orders. For example, if I do not have customer, how they can have some kind of order, right? This is for the foreign keys. You can have multiple foreign keys in your table from different tables. So now let's move on to our unique key. Unique key again ensures that a column has a unique value, but unlike a primary key, it can have a null value. Let's create another table. For example, let's create some kind of test1 table, and let's create different columns. For example, column 1, which is int, let's say primary key. Let's say column 2, again int, but let's give it like unique. Let's make it unique. And also let's create another column, column 3, again int and unique. So I can have multiple unique keys in my table, but I cannot have multiple primary keys. Also, my primary key does not allow null values, while unique key allows, but it only allows one null value in my table. For example, if I create this table, oh, I forgot to write here table. Let's run it once more, and let's insert something into my test1 table, and values, for example, 1, 2, again, let's say 1, 1, 1, right? It will allow me to do it. But if I try to insert, for example, primary key is correct, but my unique key will be incorrect. As you can see, violation of the unique key. It acted as the primary key, same way as a primary key acts, and it will not allow me to insert duplicate values, since I already have this van value here. So, what if I try to insert something? For example, let's change this to 3, also this to 3. What if I try to insert null in my primary key? So this first column is primary key, and let's try it. Cannot insert values null into column 1 because this column 1 is a primary key. But what if I try to insert null value here? This is my unique key. So it will actually do it, but it will actually do it only one time. If I try it second time, for example, let's change these numbers. As you can see, again, violation of the unique key, because every row in this column should be different. So I inserted null value once, that's it. I will not be able to do it again. This is it for this video. In this video we explained main concepts of table, like what is a row, what is a column, what is a primary key, what is a foreign key, and what is a unique key. This primary key, unique key, and foreign key is very important to understand. So make sure that you watch this video very carefully, and make sure that you will do all these tests in your computer to understand these concepts more. Again, thanks for watching. If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe. See you next time.